Okay, so you're prepping for a real estate surveyor interview, right?
Hmm.
Awesome. In this deep dive, we're going to tackle some common interview questions, giving you the inside scoop on how to really make your answers stand out. You ready to nail this?
Definitely. Let's dive in. We're all about giving you that extra edge in this deep dive.
Love it. So first things first, what does a real estate surveyor actually do? It's got to be more than just slapping a price tag on a property.
It's a lot more like being a detective in the real estate world. They're the ones digging deep, making sure property values are spot on and fair, especially for things like property taxes. And here's a little tidbit. They're often juggling multiple properties at once.
Using some super precise appraisal techniques.
Wow. Okay, so it's way more investigative than I originally thought.
Now let's get into those interview questions. I bet. Describe your experience with property valuation. Pops up all the time. What's the best way to approach that one?
That's your time to shine. Walk them through your process. Don't just rattle off past jobs. Explain your methodology. What are the steps you take? What tools do you use? What kind of challenges have you faced, and how did you overcome them? It's all about showing you're both methodical and adaptable.
Got it. So instead of saying, I worked at company X, you could say something like, my approach to valuation starts with researching comparable properties. Then I use software like PropertyVal to analyze market trends. And finally, I consider the specific features of the property to get to a fair value.
You nailed it. And don't forget to back it up with a real-world example. Maybe you had to tweak your valuation because of an unexpected zoning change or a unique architectural feature. Showing you can adapt on the fly is key.
Makes sense. What about property inspections? What should someone focus on when they're asked, what is your experience with property inspections?
This is where you showcase that meticulous side. The attention to detail. What are the key things you're looking for? Structural issues, signs of pests or water damage, zoning compliance. Mention the tools you use too. Measuring tapes, cameras, even drones for those massive properties. And again, a real example is going to make your answer memorable.
So it's kind of like being a real estate Sherlock Holmes searching for clues.
You got it. And speaking of clues, let's talk about staying up to date in this fast-paced industry. Interviewers want to see that you're committed to continuous learning. So how would you answer? How do you stay up to date with changes in the real estate industry?
That's a good one. The industry is always evolving. What are some ways someone can show they're on top of their game?
Think about specific publications you read, like the Journal of Property Valuation or Real Estate Finance Today. Are you a member of any professional organizations like the Appraisal Institute? Attending conferences and workshops also shows initiative.
You're right. And I bet extra points for connecting it to a time you adapted to a specific change. Like, I learned about new drone regulations at a recent conference and immediately updated my inspection procedures.
Exactly. It proves you're proactive and can translate knowledge into action. Now, this next question might make some people sweat. Describe a time when you had to negotiate with a difficult client or stakeholder. We've all been there, right?
I'm sure there are plenty of stories. Conflict resolution's a big part of any job. What are you really looking for with this question?
They want to see those diplomacy and communication skills in action. Choose a story where you navigated a tricky situation successfully. Maybe a client disagreed with your valuation or a stakeholder had unrealistic expectations. Focus on how you really listened to their concerns, explained your reasoning calmly, and found a compromise.
So it's not about winning the argument, but finding a solution that works for everyone. What about follow-up questions? I bet they'll have some to dig deeper.
Oh, for sure. They might ask, what was the most challenging part of that situation? Or what did you learn from that experience? They're looking for that reflection and growth. You know, this could even be a good place to weave in some career insights.
Well, smart. Two birds, one stone?
You got it. You could say something like, that experience taught me the importance of clear communication and building strong client relationships, which are essential for a successful career as a real estate surveyor.
Showing you're thinking long-term. Love it. Now let's talk regulations. How should someone approach, what is your experience with zoning and land use regulations?
This is where you prove you understand the legal side of things, the framework that impacts property valuation. Be specific about your knowledge of regulations, local, state, federal. Maybe you had to research zoning changes for a property or advised a client on new land use restrictions. A real-world example always helps.
So it's more than just numbers. It's about the context those numbers live in.
Exactly. Now, this next question might seem a bit out of left field. What is your experience with property management?
Why would they ask about property management if they're focused on valuation for taxes? Seems a little off topic.
Even if it's not your main focus, showing a basic understanding of property management makes you a well-rounded candidate. It shows you get the whole property life cycle, leasing, maintenance, tenant relations.
Yeah.
Even without direct experience, you can talk about your knowledge of the field.
So you could say, I stay informed about property management trends and understand how things like vacancy rates and maintenance costs impact property values, even if you've never managed a property yourself.
Yep. It shows you're thinking about the real estate world holistically. All right, let's tackle another conflict resolution question. How do you handle conflicts with clients or stakeholders?
Wait a second. Isn't that similar to the negotiation question we already talked about?
It is related, but this one's about your overall approach to conflict. It's a chance to highlight your communication style, your ability to stay cool under pressure, and your focus on finding solutions everyone can agree on.
So instead of rehashing the same story, you could talk about your general philosophy, like, I believe in active listening, understanding the root cause of the conflict, and finding a solution that addresses everyone's needs.
Exactly. You could even mention specific techniques you use, like mediation or collaborative problem solving. The key is to show you've got a system.
Those are some great tips. Let's wrap up this first round of questions with one about accuracy. I bet that's super important in this field. How should someone answer? How do you ensure accuracy and attention to detail in your work?
Accuracy is non-negotiable here, so this question's a big one. Explain your system for catching errors. Maybe you have a checklist, double-check calculations, or use specific software for quality control. Share a story where your attention to detail made a real difference.
Like, I once found a discrepancy in the property records that ended up saving the client thousands of dollars in property taxes.
Exactly. It highlights the real-world impact of your meticulousness. Now, before we jump into more questions, let's talk about a tool that can be a game changer for interview prep, RoleCatcher.
Oh yeah, RoleCatcher. I've heard good things. How can it help someone prepping for a real estate surveyor interview?
It's like having a personal interview coach right in your pocket. They have a huge library of resources, career guides, skill guides, interview guides, and they even have ones specifically for real estate surveyors.
Hold on. They don't just have generic interview stuff. They have stuff tailored for specific careers.
Absolutely. They go deep on a ton of different careers. And the best part is their AI tool can actually help you tailor your answers for specific job roles and even give feedback on your delivery.
Wow, that's pretty impressive. It's like having someone analyze your answers and give you pointers in real time.
Exactly. Imagine getting instant feedback on how to make your responses even better. That's the kind of edge that can make all the difference. And speaking of getting an edge, let's talk about some career insights that can really impress those interviewers. It's amazing how much the real estate landscape has shifted just in the last few years. Technology is a major game changer. From those online platforms like Zillow to virtual tours, even to AI-powered valuation tools.
It really makes you think about the future. How will the role of a real estate surveyor adapt to all this new tech? I bet interviewers would be impressed if you have some thoughts on that.
You're absolutely right. They're definitely looking for candidates who are forward-thinking and understand where the industry is headed. So how would you answer something like, how do you see the role of a real estate surveyor changing in the future?
That's a tough one. What are some things someone could touch on?
You could talk about the growing use of big data and machine learning in property valuation, or the increasing importance of sustainability and energy efficiency in real estate. Maybe even the need for surveyors to be tech-savvy and comfortable with digital tools and platforms.
So thinking big picture, understanding industry trends, and how tech might change the day-to-day work of a surveyor.
Exactly, and don't be afraid to speculate a little. Nobody can predict the future perfectly, but showing you're thinking about these things demonstrates a deeper understanding of the field.
That's great advice.
Yeah.
I want to circle back to RoleCatcher for a minute. We talked about their AI tool for tailoring answers, but it sounds almost too good to be true. How does it actually work?
I know it does sound a little magical, but it's pretty impressive. RoleCatcher's AI dives into the job description you're applying for and pulls out the key skills and experience the employer is looking for. Then it matches those requirements to your profile and suggests ways to highlight those qualifications in your answers.
So it's like a cheat sheet tailored for each interview.
In a way, yeah, but it's not about cheating. It's about putting your best foot forward, making sure you're hitting all the right notes.
I like that. It's like having a spotlight on the parts of your skill set that are most important for that specific job. No more generic answers.
Exactly. And it can save you a ton of time and stress trying to figure out what the employer wants. You can just focus on being confident and showing off your best self.
Speaking of confidence, I bet knowing you have this AI assistant in your corner is a huge confidence boost.
Definitely. Confidence is key in any interview, and RoleCatcher can make you feel way more prepared and self-assured.
Okay, back to those interview questions. Got to give our listeners all the tools they need to ace this thing.
You got it. What's up next?
Let's talk about a question that can be a little awkward. What is your salary expectation? This one makes a lot of people nervous.
I get it. Salary is a sensitive topic. But remember, the interviewer is just trying to figure out if your expectations match the role and their budget.
So what's the best way to tackle this one?
Do your research. Know the typical salary range for real estate surveyors in your area with your level of experience. Websites like Glassdoor or salary.com are super helpful.
Right. And be ready to give a range instead of a specific number.
Exactly. You could say something like, based on my research and experience, I'm targeting a salary between X and Y. You could even add, of course, I'm open to discussing this further depending on the specifics of the role and the benefits package.
That sounds way less intimidating than throwing out a hard number.
It also shows you've done your homework and you're approaching the conversation like a pro.
Now let's talk about a question that can really show off your passion. Why are you interested in becoming a real estate surveyor?
This is where you let that enthusiasm shine through. What draws you to this field? Is it the problem-solving aspect, the challenge of getting those property values right, the chance to work with all sorts of clients and properties?
Maybe it's the excitement of uncovering hidden property details like a real estate detective.
Exactly. Be genuine and let your personality come through. Share a personal anecdote or experience that sparked your interest. You could say something like, I've always been fascinated by architecture and real estate, and I love that this career combines those passions with analytical thinking and real-world problem solving.
It's all about connecting with the interviewer, showing them you're not just in it for the paycheck.
Speaking of connecting, let's shift gears to a question that tests your market knowledge. What are your thoughts on the current real estate market trends?
Ooh, this is like a real estate pop quiz.
It is, but it's also a chance to show off what you know. Stay updated on market trends in your area. Are prices going up or down? What's driving those changes? Interest rates, inventory levels.
You can also mention broader economic trends that are affecting the real estate market.
Definitely. Maybe you've noticed a shift towards sustainable building or a surge in demand for multifamily homes. Sharing these observations shows you're engaged and in the loop.
It shows you're not just thinking about individual properties, but the big picture too.
Exactly. Now let's tackle a question that really tests those problem-solving skills. Describe a time you had to make a difficult decision about a property valuation.
This one sounds challenging.
It is, but it's your chance to highlight your analytical skills and ethical decision-making. Think of a time you faced a complex situation where you had to weigh different factors and make a judgment call.
Maybe you had to adjust a valuation based on new information, even though it wasn't in your favor.
That's a perfect example. Walk the interviewer through your thinking. How did you gather information? What factors did you consider? How did you justify your decision?
It's all about showing you can make those tough calls while staying objective and ethical.
You got it. Now let's wrap up this round of questions with one that focuses on communication. How would you explain a complex property valuation to a client with no real estate background?
That's a good one. Being able to communicate clearly is so important, especially with complicated technical stuff.
Absolutely. This question's all about breaking down those complex concepts into simple terms that anyone can understand. Think about analogies or real-world examples to illustrate your points.
You could compare different valuation methods to buying a car. Maybe.
Great analogy. Or you could explain depreciation using something everyone understands, like a smartphone.
The key is to be patient and clear. Avoid the industry jargon.
Exactly. And remember, good communication goes both ways. Encourage the client to ask questions. Make sure they're comfortable with the information.
These are all such great tips. It's amazing how many different skills a real estate surveyor needs to be successful.
It's true. This job demands a mix of technical, know-how, analytical thinking, communication skills, even a bit of creativity.
That's what makes it such an exciting career path, I think.
Absolutely. And with the right preparation and resources like what RoleCatcher offers, you can totally stand out in those interviews and launch a great career in this field.
Well said. Now, before we move on to some final thoughts and advice for our listeners, I want to mention career advancement. There are a lot of ways to move up in this field, right?
You're right. This profession has a ton of different paths for growth and development.
So how could someone climb the ladder in this field?
There are so many options. You could specialize in a certain area like commercial or residential properties, move into a management role, even start your own consultancy.
I've heard that getting designations like the MAI, Member Appraisal Institute, or the AIGRS, General Review Specialist, are pretty well respected in the industry.
Those are definitely valuable credentials. They show your expertise and dedication to the profession. They can open doors to higher level positions and, of course, more earning potential.
So continuing to learn is key for moving up.
Absolutely. Going for those advanced certifications, attending industry conferences, staying up to date on trends and tech, it's all essential for career growth.
It's great to know there are so many options for people who are ambitious and want to make a difference in this field.
It really is. And with the right mindset and preparation, you can accomplish amazing things as a real estate surveyor.
Well said.
Yeah.
Before we wrap up, I want to touch on something we haven't really talked about yet. Soft skills. How important are they in this profession?
Oh, that's a great point. Technical expertise is a must-have, but those soft skills are just as important for success as a real estate surveyor.
What are some of the key soft skills that really matter in this role?
Communication is huge, as we've already talked about. You need to be able to explain those complex ideas clearly and concisely, whether you're speaking or writing.
Right. And what about interpersonal skills?
Those are super important too. You're going to be interacting with all kinds of people, clients, stakeholders, colleagues, even opposing parties sometimes. Building rapport, negotiating effectively, and handling conflicts smoothly. It's all essential.
Problem solving has to be a big one too, right?
Definitely. Unexpected challenges and roadblocks are just part of the job. Being able to think critically, analyze situations, and find creative solutions is crucial for getting past those obstacles.
What about that attention to detail?
That's a soft skill that's non-negotiable for real estate surveyors. Accuracy is paramount, and even tiny errors can have big consequences.
So it's not just about being careful with numbers, but having that overall mindset of paying attention to detail in every part of the job.
Exactly. And those organizational skills go hand in hand with that attention to detail.
So to sum it up, technical expertise is the foundation, but soft skills are what really help you shine in this role.
Perfectly said. And the great thing is that soft skills can be developed and improved over time with practice and self-awareness.
So even if you don't feel like you're a natural at communication or negotiation, don't worry. There are resources and techniques you can use to get better.
And remember, highlighting those soft skills during your interview can really make you stand out. Leave a strong impression on the hiring manager.
Great advice. Now, before we move on to our final thoughts, I want to touch on asking questions during the interview. It's always good to have some prepared right.
Asking thoughtful questions shows you're genuinely interested in the role and the company. It also gives you a chance to get more information and make a good decision.
What are some examples of questions a candidate could ask?
You could ask about the company culture, the team you'd be working with, the opportunities for professional development and advancement within the company.
Or even ask about the specific challenges and opportunities that come with the role. Or maybe the company's vision for the future of real estate surveying.
Those are great examples. And remember, tailor your questions to that specific company and position.
Listening carefully to their answers and having a good conversation is also important.
Asking thoughtful questions and having a real conversation will make a positive impression. It shows you're enthusiastic and prepared.
Great tips. I think it's time to wrap up with some final thoughts and advice for our listeners.
Sounds good. What are the key things they should remember as they prep for their real estate surveyor interviews?
First things first, showcase your process, your methodology that laser focus on detail. Use real-life examples to back up your skills and experience. Don't just show them how you've used your knowledge in real-world situations.
Absolutely. And show them you're dedicated to learning and staying ahead of those industry changes. Mention publications, organizations, conferences, highlight how you've adapted to past changes, especially those driven by technology.
Great points. Don't be shy about thinking big picture. Share your thoughts about the future of the profession, even if they're a bit speculative. Show them you're thinking critically about the changes happening in real estate surveying.
Excellent advice. And of course, don't forget about resources like RoleCatcher's AI platform. It can help you tailor your answers, practice your delivery, and boost your confidence. It's like having a personal coach and a secret weapon all in one.
Well said. Now, before we sign off, I want to leave our listeners with something to think about.
I'm all ears.
We've covered a ton of ground today, from technical skills and knowledge, to interview strategies, to career insights. But remember, at the end of the day, this profession is about people. It's about understanding their needs, building relationships, helping them navigate the world of real estate.
You're so right. It's not just numbers and regulations. It's about connecting with people and making a difference in their lives.
So as you prepare for your interviews, remember to show off your technical expertise, but also your empathy, your communication skills, and your ability to build strong relationships.
Those qualities will not only help you get the job, but they'll be valuable throughout your whole career as a real estate surveyor.
I think that's a perfect note to end on. We've explored the ins and outs of the real estate surveyor world, from the core responsibilities to the interview process to the future of the field.
It's been great diving into this topic with you.
Thanks for joining us, everyone. We hope you found this deep dive informative and helpful. Remember, with the right preparation, a bit of confidence, and a commitment to learning, you can reach your career goals and make a real impact in real estate. Good luck with your job search. We're rooting for you.
Yeah, it's true. The best people in this field are often the ones who can balance those technical skills with that human touch. You know, being able to analyze a property, but also really connect with the people involved, understanding their needs and their concerns.
That's what makes this profession so interesting. It's this perfect mix of analytical thinking and human interaction.
Absolutely. And as the real estate industry keeps changing, those human skills are only going to become even more important. Totally agree. So for all you aspiring real estate surveyors out there, remember this: numbers and regulations are essential. Sure, but empathy, communication, building those strong relationships, those are key too.
Well said. And those qualities won't just help you nail the interview. They'll be valuable throughout your whole career.
Now that we've covered all those interview questions and insights, let's circle back to something we mentioned before, RoleCatcher.
Right, RoleCatcher. It's a tool that can seriously boost your prep.
Absolutely. Their AI-powered platform is like having a personal interview coach and a research team all in one.
It's amazing how technology is changing things for job seekers.
Uh-huh.
Can you tell us a little more about how RoleCatcher can help, specifically with a real estate surveyor interview?
It's designed for so many different careers, including this one. Picture this. You upload the job description for the position you're applying for, and RoleCatcher's AI gets to work. It analyzes the wording, figures out exactly what skills and experience the employer is really looking for.
Okay, so it's like reading between the lines of the job posting.
You got it. Then it compares what it learned to your resume and profile and suggests ways you can tweak your answers to really hit those key points. It's like having a custom roadmap for each interview.
Wow, that's super useful. Way better than guessing what the interviewer wants to hear.
Right. And it can even give you feedback on how you're presenting yourself. Things like pacing your tone of voice, even your body language.
It's like a mock interview with an expert, but you can do it from home.
And on your own schedule, it takes all the stress and guesswork out of preparing.
So to wrap things up, you've got the knowledge, the insights, and the tools you need to succeed.
Now go out there and ace that interview.
We're excited for you. We know you're going to do great.
Remember, preparation is key. And believe in yourself. You've got this.
And that's a wrap on our deep dive into the world of real estate surveyors. Hope you found this helpful and informative.
It's been a pleasure exploring this topic with you.
Thanks for joining us, and best of luck in your job search. We're rooting for you.